When and where can you get free relief in winter course conditions? Today I'm going to be running you through some of the biggest winter rules that I see people breaking to make sure you get the rules right next time you're in a competition. What happens if your golf ball is surrounded by leaves? Well, there's a few different options, and some of it depends on how the leaves got there and also what local rules your committee has brought in for the winter. So leaves can be classed as two different things. They're always loose impediments, which means in this scenario I could just go ahead and move the leaves around my golf ball, providing they don't move my golf ball in the process. My golf ball is actually sat on some leaves here, so obviously I couldn't move those because if I pulled them from beneath the golf ball could move. But I can move all these ones around it, which helps me just get to the ball a little bit easier. Now, in some places on your golf course, big piles of leaves might accumulate, be it inside a bunker or against a bunker face or up against a mound or a hill. And in those scenarios, the committee can choose to bring in a local rule where you treat that area as ground under repair and you can drop away from it for free. Now, this rule is really just designed to be used on certain holes or in particular places where leaves accumulate a lot of the time, but your committee does have to bring it in as a local rule, so it's worth checking with your golf club what the rule is. If they do have that local rule in place, you can treat this as ground under repair, so you get your nearest point of relief where you're out with your feet and your golf ball, and then you get one club length from that point. If that's not in place though, you're just going to have to move the leaves around your ball and do as best you can. Now, there is one other scenario where you can actually get free relief from leaves, so let's go see what that is. Now, in this scenario here, these leaves are clearly stacked for removal. So in this situation, you would treat this as ground under repair and you would get to take a free drop. So all you need to do is take your nearest point of relief, no nearer the hole, and then you get one club length from there. While you're here, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people watching this channel aren't currently subscribed, and having a bigger subscriber number really helps in terms of what opportunities we get to create great videos for you guys. So please hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, you might as well drop us a like and a comment about what else you'd like to see in the future. Right, back to it. Now, winter is a time where the greenkeepers are doing loads of work and getting the course prepped for the next season, and that can mean accumulations of debris like this. So here, trees have been cleared and cut down, and then they've been stacked in areas for removal. Now, in this scenario where loose impediments have been specifically stacked for removal, you get free relief. Now, obviously these are loose impediments, so my golf ball is in the middle of these and I could choose to move them all if I wanted to, as long as it didn't make the golf ball move. But actually, because they've been stacked for removal by the greenkeepers, you're allowed to take free relief and treat this like ground under repair. So to do this, all I'm going to do is mark my golf ball, then I'm going to find the nearest point of relief that's no nearer the hole, and I get full relief here, so ball and stance. Now, there's less wood this way, so my nearest point is going to be to this side. If I came forward, I would be nearer the hole, so I can't do that. So I need to go this way until I'm clear of the rubble. And then from that point, I get one club length. You can use this with any club up to your driver. You can't use your putter if it's longer than a driver. I'm just going to use the wedge that I'm going to use to hit. So I've got my one club length. I can then drop in this area here. If there's any loose impediments on the ground and you drop an area, you can move them before you drop, so we can get those pesky leaves out of the way. And then just remember to drop from knee high. And that ball's now back in play. Oh, what a shot. Green was pretty firm though. You have a short putt left for par, and it's pretty crucial to your current match, but there's loads of frost in the way. So you just decide you're going to get down and clean it off your lie to give you a better chance of holing it. Now, if you're thinking of doing this, think twice. This is actually against the rules and not allowed, and that's because frost and dew are not classed as temporary water in the same way that water or ice is. So in this scenario, you would be in breach of rule 8.1a, which would mean you'd be classed as improving your lie. You'd be given the general penalty, which is a 2-shot penalty. So if you're out on a cold or a wet morning and there's dew or frost down on the green, you just need to leave it where it is and play the ball as it lies. Ugh, it would have gone in if it wasn't for that pesky frost. Now the rule for temporary water is slightly different to that for dew or frost. So in this scenario, if we had accumulation of temporary water on our line to the hole, or where we were stood or around our golf ball, we actually get free relief. Providing there's one condition, and that is that the water can be seen before you take your stance or when you take your stance without excessively pressing into the ground. So if you think you can just do this and get relief, it's not going to happen. Now the temporary water rule is quite unusual on the green because we actually get line of sight as well as for our stance. So in this situation here, if there was water around my golf ball, around my feet, I would get relief. But also if there was like a puddle here, I would get relief for that too. And all of this is nearest point of relief. So I would simply move sideways until I had a line to the hole where I could go around that water. Now it's important to note, in some scenarios, your nearest point of relief out of the line of sight or stance might take you off the green, be that on the fringe or slightly into the rough. Now in this scenario, that's actually tough luck. You've got to take your nearest point of relief, not the nicest point, as long as that's in the general area. Now in this scenario, the general area is anywhere except the tee you've played off on that hole, a bunker or a penalty area. So you wouldn't be allowed to drop into a bunker or a hazard, but if the nearest point of relief is on the fringe or in the rough, you do have to drop there, and not on an area of the green that's further away. Remember, it's always nearest, not nicest. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you need to go back to my previous video, 10 misunderstood rules of golf, where I explain this really thoroughly. Now, the last thing that can get in the way in winter in terms of water is ice or snow. And this is an interesting one because it can be treated in two different ways. So it can be treated as a loose impediment, the same way as like a leaf would be, and you can simply pick it up and move it. Alternatively, it can be classed as temporary water, so you can take the same nearest point of relief as you would do if it was water on the ground. Let's be honest, if there's snow and ice on the floor, do you really think we should be out on the golf course? I mean, it's a bit too cold for me already. Let me know what you think. If it's snowing or icy, are you going to be out on the course this winter? So if my puddle's there, I'm going to pick my ball up, keep moving round until it's out of the way, no longer in line of sight, and then hopefully I'm going to hit my putt in the hole. Ooh. Thank God I got free relief. Now, the ground is pretty frozen today, so the club have decided to put us on temporary greens. Unfortunately for me, I've overshot the mark a bit and I've ended up on the actual green, but surely I can just grab my putter and knock it down there. Now actually this is classed as a wrong green, so it's the same scenario as if you'd hit it on the 9th green when maybe you were playing the 12th hole. And what that means is you are not allowed to play off the surface. Even if you just wanted to put it off, it's not allowed. So what we have to do is find our nearest point of full relief where both the ball and our stance is off the green. From there we then get one club length to drop within, then the ball is back in play. Now it does have to be dropped into the general area, so if the nearest point of relief was a bunker, you don't have to drop into there, don't worry. Now in this scenario, this side is definitely nearer, so let's go look at where I should drop. Okay, so the ball is here. We need to make sure we go no nearer the hole. So I'd say my nearest point's about here. Then get my one club length. Obviously get that on an arc. And the ball's back in play. As easy as that. Perhaps putter wasn't quite the right choice here, but we're going for it. That actually turned out pretty well. Shot scope does say, always use your putter. You get up and down more. What a two-putt. Preferred lies is another local rule that committees can choose to bring in actually any time of the year due to abnormal ground conditions, but it is most frequently used in winter. So what relief does preferred lies entitle you to? Well, it means you can lift, clean and replace your ball if you're in the general area and the area is cut to fairway height or less. Sometimes courses do bring this in for rough or anywhere across the golf course, but they're not actually really meant to do that. Now in this scenario, the reference area or the amount you're allowed to move your golf ball varies per golf club. It's up to the committee, so you really need to make sure you check this with your home course and know what it is, but generally it'll be one of three things, and that is 6 inches, a scorecard length, or a club length. Now when this rule is in place, you don't actually have to mark your golf ball before you move it, but I do like to do this, and I think it's good practice just because you know exactly where your ball was, and it's really easy to make sure you don't go outside that reference point. Now it's important to remember you can't put your golf ball back anywhere nearer the hole. It has to be behind or to the side of where it was previously. Now a big way I see this rule being broken is that once the golf ball is put down, someone kind of changes their mind and decides to put it somewhere else. You're actually not allowed to do this, and you're only allowed to replace the golf ball once. If you replace the ball more than once, you would be in breach of rule 14.2e, and that would mean you would be getting some penalty shots. Now another thing to note in this scenario is what happens if your ball moves once it's been put down. Now generally you get about 5 to 10 seconds for the ball to come to natural rest, but if you can't get your golf ball to stay put on that place, in that scenario you are allowed to pick it up and place it again on the nearest point nearby where you can get the ball to stay still. After that, your ball's back in play and you can hit your shot onto the green. Hopefully. Embedded balls are another big thing we see more frequently in winter as the ground gets softer and wetter. So what is the relief you're allowed to take here? Well, in this scenario, the ball has to be below the surface of the ground. So here we can clearly see this ball is still in its pitch mark, so I would be entitled to free relief. Now, this doesn't mean you get free relief if your ball simply just sat down in long grass. It has to be under the level of the actual ground. The ball also has to be in the general area. So a lot of people think you can't take embedded ball relief in the rough. You can, because that's classed as the general area. Where you can't take embedded ball relief would be in a bunker or inside a penalty area. You also can't take relief in a scenario where it's physically not possible for you to hit the shot. So if you've hit your ball in a bush and it's plugged, it's tough luck. You don't get to take a free dropout just because it's embedded. You have to be able to make a stroke at the shot to be allowed to take embedded ball relief. Now the relief for this is a little bit different. So actually the reference point for where you take the drop is directly behind the golf ball. From there you then get your 1 club length each side. And again you get the full arc of that radius either side. So you basically end up with a semicircle reference point that you can drop within. Now once we pick our ball up, we're allowed to clean this, and then we're going to drop from knee high. Now that's back in play because it stayed within the 1 club length distance, and because we've got preferred lies in play, I can now actually pick that up, clean it again, and place it if I want to. And hopefully I can chip this nearer than I would have done from in that pitch mark. I never hit this chip shot hard enough.